Enthusiasts across the world freak out about how high their credit count is. Like, there's literally people who will bribe strangers for their kids to get a +1. I'm not gonna lie, it's my favorite part about being an enthusiast. I love watching the numbers go up and up as I travel more and more, only to learn that I have a super low credit count compared to everyone else in the entire world. In today's video, we're going to be diving into the deepest, darkest corners of the enthusiast community and talk about credits that you cannot get. We will even go to the extent of breaking down the greatest myth in the enthusiast community, foosball. Now, this is no way a ranking video. I'm just going to throw out a few coasters that highlight a certain category or are unique enough as themselves to deserve a shout out alone. Let's start out with the first type of coaster, backyard roller coasters. Now, this could be debated if it's a credit or not, but all backyard coasters share the same properties of normal roller coasters. They are just extremely janky and not on our CDP. But yeah, still a credit. I'm not going to name every coaster in this category because there are so many creative people on this planet that make coasters. I'm just going to highlight my favorite backyard roller coasters. For one, there's Blue Flash. This is the only backyard coaster with an inversion. Well, the only rideable backyard coaster with an inversion. Someone else made one with a roll, but it was really bad. So Blue Flash, Coaster Studios actually rode this, so you could check out his review. I don't know how good it actually is. My personal favorite backyard roller coaster is Little Thunder. This launch backyard roller coaster has an incredible level of theming. I don't think I need to say any more. And honorable mention to Shadow Stalker. Next up is a boring category, defunct coasters. We won't spend too long on this category because, well, it's self-explanatory. These are coasters that are closed and will never open again, so you can't ride them. The first coaster I'm going to mention is Volcano the Blast Coaster, because it definitely is the most famous defunct coaster. It's the only launching and inverting Intamin besides like impulses, so it's definitely pretty crazy. It also had a high level of theming and blah blah blah. It's infamous, it's defunct, so it's a very good example. Another good example is Eagle Fortress. This was an insane suspended coaster in South Korea at Everland. Very few people have ridden this, making it even harder to get, but some people have still rode this. We could push it a step further when talking about coasters that no one really has ridden. An example of that is Crystal Beach Cyclone. This wood coaster was so intense that it hurt people, like a bunch of people. It was popular in the 1920s, so maybe there is someone still around who has ridden this. Anyways, that's the category of defunct coasters. Let's get on to something a little more interesting. Next up is kiddie coasters. A lot of kiddie coasters you can ride. Trust me, I have been on plenty, and a lot of them you cannot. As an example, we will use Magic Flyer and Magic Mountain. At this point, it has become a ritual for me and Flashwing to ask the ride-op if we can ride it, literally every time we walk by. We will eventually get a ride-op that is willing to break the rules, but that day has not come yet. The only other way to ride these coasters is to do the impossible for any coaster enthusiast and have a child. Or you can go the route of bribing strangers. That works too, I guess.
Hey kids, want some candy?
I also want to quickly mention another boring category before we get onto rare cases and all the interesting content. SP&O, standing but not operating coasters. Top Thrill Dragster, very self-explanatory. Let's just move on, like I said, very quick. Now let's talk about some rare occurrences. Some traveling coasters can be hard to get to, like a fair or a spike coaster on that one cruise ship. You also have some Intamins that keep on breaking down, or some Skyline coasters that keep breaking down, but mainly just Intamins that keep breaking down. Another category are coasters that have had really short runs, like any original coaster to Wonderland Eurasia and Ring Racer at Nürburgring. Both of these coasters did not see a long shelf life, so it's hard to get that credit. You want to know another category, coasters that are super hard to get? Coasters that are hard to get to, like coasters in countries or locations that are really hard to travel to. Right now, Russia is a little difficult to get to, so it looks like you are missing out on that one quirky Intamin Blitz there, unless you live there, of course. Also, there's China, and China has every single good coaster in the universe. Another country that has coasters is North Korea. There are a couple of Chinese ripoffs and an Imperial Valère there, so you're probably not going to get there, though some people have before. One thing is for sure, if you are currently a US citizen, you ain't going there anytime soon. There's also Saudi Arabia, but I'm pretty sure with the opening of Flags Qiddiya, it will get a few more visitors. You want some more stuff? Riding coasters in their original states or at rare occasions. Now this may not be a credit, but you still aren't riding it like this. A few examples that come to mind is Accelerator, when Cedar Fair was testing how powerful an Intamin Accelerator launch could be for Top Thrill Dragster. That looked pretty sick, probably the most airtime out of any coaster in the entire world. A more doable option is Son of Beast with the Loop. That must have been pretty cool. And let's go back to another impossible option, riding Maverick with its Heartline roll. Yeah, that's just straight up not happening, even if they did find the track piece in the middle of nowhere. Another short category are just coasters that straight up did not open, like Fantasia Land's SFX coaster that was themed to basically Indiana Jones, and all three of the rumored Canada's Wonderland propositions. That was a joke. I'm sure that one of those will open. I guess you could also lump the euthanasia coaster in this category, but that was never planned to even be constructed. In fact, I don't even know if it's humanly possible to construct a coaster that tall. Now let's get to some really rare stories. For one, there's this crazy coaster that was used for the recording of Jurassic World. I'm pretty sure only like 10 to 20 people in the entire world got to ride this. Like, it's that rare. It definitely is a credit because it has restraints, it's powered by gravity, and literally has roller coaster track. I mean, if you look at the pictures and videos of it, it's literally a roller coaster track. It even has brake pins at the end of the drop, giving real full throttle vibes right there. I really wonder who manufactured this track. It honestly looks like a small-scale B&M, but we really don't know that. I just can't believe that the production studio came to the conclusion that building a roller coaster was cheaper than whatever CGI can do. Whatever floats your boats, I guess. Another super rare case are prototype coasters. These are coasters that are built in a shop to be tested to see if they actually work. Most of the time, the right to ride it is reserved to workers employed by the manufacturing firm or potential clients wanting to buy the model. Most notable of this category is the SMS Axis prototype. A lot of people got to ride this, and you might still be able to if you have a lot of internet clout. Though they could have torn it down, I really had no idea. An Axis coaster will eventually be built, so you are not missing out on much. More examples of prototype coasters is the ROC single rail. You got to see it a lot more in This Is How We Roll, so thank you, Taylor. This was not the most glamorous thing ever, but it was a credit. Another example of this is the Vekoma tilt coaster, though I don't know if they ever made it full circuit. Fun fact about the tilt coaster, I got my stats wrong last video. The 15-minute dispatches were for the tilting mechanism to reset, so I really hope they fix that. Anyways, off topic, back to prototype coasters. Another one of them by Vekoma is Cosmic Rewind. This prototype was to test the controlled spinning that these coaster trains do. By the way, Cosmic Rewind is an actually fire coaster. The specific prototype used the trains that are currently in operation, so I don't think there's any hope of actually riding this coaster nowadays. And now that we are on the subject of prototype models, let's talk about the infamous story of Woozball. Okay, so you know the Intamin Zaxbit, like the worst model of all time, Green Lantern. That may bring back PTSD for some people. Also, it's a rare credit within itself, going in the defunct category. So when Intamin was designing the human torture contraption of a coaster, they built a prototype Intamin Zaxbit. The track was red, it had an LSM launch, it was pretty legit. Now there was this rumor that was started on a Thuzy forum that said the prototype Zaxbit was somewhere on Fantasialand's property. Now this is probably a myth, but I have also seen a lot of people who have said that they have rode this. I couldn't find a lot of information about Woozball on the web, but I was able to find a lot of stuff about it through Discord and Reddit. I know, right? I found 2 accounts of people saying they have rode it. Whether you believe them or not is up to you. The one said that you have to talk to an employee at Winjaz and give them a password. The other emailed the park and basically got a sketchy white van meetup. In both of these cases, they said the roller coaster was straight fire and the launches were good and it flipped so much. Now this coaster used to be located where Rookborough is, so now it has been relocated somewhere else on property. Hollywood Tour has not operated since the construction of Rookborough, so people have suspected that it's on that plot of land. Some more far-off stories say that if Woozball dispatches at the same time as Fly's seats rotates, the seats on Fly will stall sideways, which they do every so often. Now that definitely does not confirm the myth because a coaster can stall for a variety of reasons, but anyways, people say to ride it nowadays you need to get your hands on a password, and this password changes every day. Apparently the password is on one map out of the entire park, so you just have to get lucky or get another coaster enthusiast in the park that day for everyone else to know. Except only 2 accounts of Woozball existing with the chance to ride it every day? Yeah, it's definitely not a thing. Despite all the accounts and wild stories, I do not believe Woozball exists. Maybe at one point it did before the construction of Rookborough, but now I just find it hard to believe. Fantasialand values their limited space and I can't see how this is worth the real estate, especially because of how unknown it is. So this is an example of a credit that you cannot get, probably because it doesn't exist. So those are some of the hardest credits to get in the world. Let me know if I missed a category or a coaster. I like to forget things a lot and don't know every secret about the enthusiast community, so yeah. You probably won't ever ride these coasters in your lifetime, or literally cannot ride these coasters in your lifetime, so cry about it. Also, quick PSA, we're going to go back to 2 full-length uploads a week until the end of summer, so enjoy it while it lasts. That's all for today's video, guys. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.